everything has a face. Every house has a face. When I see houses, they all have faces. See? I come from the Baltic coast, where the Baltic amber comes from. And that's a little country which is called Latvia. I was born in 1923. And so this is a small part of just a reminder what I did. And so that is what's left for a dancer. A dancer's life is ephemeral. Whenever you finish dance, the dance is gone into the air somewhere. And you can't capture a dance unless you capture it on film, but even then it's just a cutout. It's not the entire thing as you would experience it in a live performance, of course. Dance is the oldest art form of mankind because it is the art of movement, and anything that's alive is moving. So it becomes a symbol of life itself. Every finger in the mudras means something. You use your hands in different ways so that your fingers form different symbols, and you tell a story with that. In Indian dance you have each finger, pataka, tripataka, adapataka, the bee, for example, the story, the bee that comes for honey into the flower, into the lotus flower, and all this is expressive, and much more so than in classical ballet, where you don't use your fingers, the hand, in that way. The gesture, the movement, to express a thought, a feeling, a story, it all happens through the dance. And especially in Indian dance, I think, because then the whole face takes part, and the hand gestures, the mudras, they all tell stories, and the facial expression, the eyes, and all that is very much part of the dance. So it's a very involved dance form, but I also do modern East-West. I was called by Prime Minister Nehru the bridge between East and West when I visited India the first time, and then I was received by Indira Gandhi the next time. And so I think this is an apt title for me, being the bridge between East and West. I heard music, I always had to move. When I was 5, I was taken for the first time to a ballet. Swan Lake was my first ballet in my life that I saw in our opera house. And then and there I decided that I am going to pick up a dancer. I studied at the academy and then later at the conservatory. I found myself an even more suitable teacher, Professor Rosalia Hladik, a very well-known figure in the modern dance world. And she was about to open a new dance department in the conservatory of Vienna. So I went over to her and I was the first one to become her student. And so I was studying four full years in Vienna, but also working in the theater at the same time. And I was taken in as a soloist into a modern dance company, the Boden Visa company, with which I then toured the whole of New Zealand and practically the whole of Australia, also with the Australian Arts Council. Then in '55, I decided to venture out with my own solo dance recitals, 2 hours myself on stage. And since then, and that is now 60 years or so, that I have performed all over the world with my own solo dance recitals. That took me to India, 3 times to India, because I also started concentrating on Indian classical dance, which was and turned into my specialty later. I also do artwork, and not only do I paint, but I also make what I call my nature spirit from all sorts of things that I find. People throw out all sorts of things, but they are giving me an inspiration to make something of it. So here, since I'm alone and have no family, I created my family. And this is my family. This is the optimist. This is the pessimist. And I have all sorts of various characters here, which is my family. People throw out sort of all sorts of things, and I just turn it into artwork. This was packing material somebody had thrown out. They had something sent to them and they throw it out. So I turned it also into some face or personality. It is a personage. So all these are representing my family now. The yellow hair is from Greece, a part of a fisher net, and the others are ropes. It was sent to me like a box. So I opened it up and there it is, a new personality, a new friend for me in my studio. These are all my friends, my family. Well, these here, I made a whole totem pole of it. It's like the ancestral totem pole, all these faces. They're all boxes. Again, people have thrown them out, and I thought they were wonderful material to be used. So I turned them into faces like that, and I have them one on top of the other, like a totem pole. And this was a cheese box. That's where cheese was in there. Somebody threw that out. And that is the top face of this totem. When I do some dances, then I also use these instruments as I perform, as I dance. Or also compose something with all my instruments I've gathered from all over the world. And compose and play them on tape, and then I do choreography to it. I choreographed a new dance where my dance group of 7 dancers in Latvia use these masks. I painted them all myself. Each is different and individual in expression. Very lovely sound. When I teach yoga, I use it for meditation and for the breathing exercises. Breathing in and out until the sound lasts. And also for meditation, it sets your mind in a very peaceful way. It's very beautiful. That's one sound. And then the other is higher. Very lovely. I use these in my dances quite often. But in Tibet they use it this way. They crush it together. You know? And they sound out a long time, because that's rather loud. They're handmade, of course. You know. So these are very lovely ones. These are Korean ones. They're lighter in sound. They're not as deep. A lighter color sound. Also 2. There's 1. And then the other side. And they too crush them together. That's how they use it. But I have them all out in a line hanging, and then I use all these different sounds. There are 4 different sounds actually. You know, lower, higher, and so forth. This is one of my nature spirits that blesses, this is uplift hands, blesses the inner flowering, you see. And that again I made of one of the boxes. So it was like a box, you know, folding like that. But this was used in Latvia as an invitation, this is the other side of it, as an invitation to the opening of my 1.5-hour film on my life, on the work, in Latvia, Riga, when there was a premiere of that film. I like these circular shapes, and that's why I make mandalas also, for the very same reason. I always make mandalas of the flowers on the floor of my studio. And the circular shapes always remind me of the infinity of things, the ongoing of things, the ever-returning. And it's very beautiful, old symbol, which I like very much. So I work in circles. I love to use circles in my dance too. These are sketches of me dancing by a very well-known Indian painter, Chowda, whose drawings are in all the Indian dance books, very famous. It's just my imagination. Well, I do paint and I do choreograph, so you have to have imagination and fantasy. Think of something that you make of movement as a choreographer. And of course, since I also paint, and it's all interrelated. All arts are interrelated anyway, you see. I also compose. I have my instruments, different instruments from all over the world. So I compose, and I paint, and I choreograph dances. So it's all interconnected. I came to this country, to America, for a coast-to-coast dance concert tour. Started in San Francisco. I didn't intend to stay, I just was invited for that coast-to-coast dance concert tour in 36 cities. And after the tour was finished, in and out of Canada as well, I was asked to become director of the dance department in the theater school. Then I opened my own studio, and so I stayed on. Everything is being evaluated by money practically, except the artist, of course. The artist is always the one that never has money and never works for nothing, works because we have chosen what we're doing out of love, out of dedication. We dedicate ourselves. So it was never a consideration of money that we got into what we are doing. Now, I have been longest in America, but I must say that I feel least at home in America. There is a very superficial approach, I feel, by people from one to another, and especially in New York, nobody has really time for you. In America, the terrible underlining of the importance of money, and everything is money, and finances, and in the news what you hear about finances, money, how big firms have come about, how they are amalgamated, and how these people of big monies have cheated the taxes, and it goes into the billions, and they have millionaires' homes, and yet you have people who are living on the street. The material side of things. That disturbs me. Somehow in Europe, well, Europe is beginning to copy America, unfortunately, too. It's going that way there, too. They are losing themselves completely, also. And that's very sad. Everything begins to be leveled out, flat, on the same level. They level everything now. And children especially, I'm feeling for the children who are watching television, and not everybody watches just Channel 13, by the way. But the other channels, when you put them on, I mean, it is sex, it is money, it is vulgarity, it is violence. And children watching that, what do you expect to get? What kind of people will grow up as a next generation? If they have this in front of them all the time, of course they imitate. Children imitate anything they see. That's how they learn. But if they have something good to imitate, well, then they learn the right thing. But if they are looking at those things, well, there is no hope. And it is because of this availability, ready availability of media that puts this out. Just at the pressure of a button, you have this in front of you, you see. At the same time, it can be, naturally it can be and should be used in a very educational way and in a very positive way. But it's not done so because, again, there is money behind it. Again, somebody wants to sell you something. And the money becomes money, and money makes money, and money, and this is all they can think of. And it's based all on greed. It's all based on greed, gaining money wherever you can, no matter how and what. And that seems to be the main driving force in this country. These are the things that don't make me feel at home, you know. If you dedicate your whole life to one thing, as I did, then of course the private side of life somewhat suffers, because you can't fully give the time and energy to establish a relationship that would be satisfying, maybe. I don't know, unless the other person too is in that kind of orbit, you know. and you share. Now that is what I would have liked very much, to meet someone who would share my work, not necessarily a dancing partner, but maybe somebody, maybe a composer who also would work in with me, and with whom one could tour together and give performances together. Somebody who would take part. Yeah, that's the one thing that I would have wished it would have happened. Then, of course, you are also not so far from each other. You are not separated for so long as otherwise it happens. And you would share your work, and it would be an enriching life for both, I think, if both are creative. You know, there are such few couples that I know of, and it's very enriching. And yes, that would have been wonderful if I would have met somebody who could have shared my work with me and be with me and be still with me. And there comes a time, of course, when you feel a certain void, I think, because by that time other people have found themselves a partner to share life with. And because I had this gypsy type of life, I was never long enough in one place to really establish such relationships. And in fact, if I had some, I was away for too long on tour. I came back and found that this person has found someone else. So that was a big disappointment, and so you get somewhat bitter about it too, and you don't try again also. Because once you have a deep disappointment in people, it's very hard to again trust someone else, though life goes on, I guess. But yes, it's now becoming lonely, yes, and it's difficult sometimes. It is.
In February is your birthday.
Yeah, 60. But I'm still
You know what though, but you've been a dancer all your life, so you will heal better, than the average person.
No, it all depends, because really it will be such a trauma.
When are you going?
Wednesday. This Wednesday.
And you'll be there how long?
Well, I don't know. They say 5 days in the hospital, and then I hope that I will be sent to a week or something like that. But I think 5 days in cement is come and see me.
I will. Yeah, you'll be saying Vija Vetra.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute you said it, I knew.
And the surgeon
I was thinking Viva, something I could
Vija, V-I-J-A, V-E-T-I. And the surgeon is Dr.
Okay.
B-I-Y, will so there's so many other things.
What are you afraid of?
No, I'm afraid of other things going wrong, like infection, like the thing can come out again.
Yeah, and you have to come out of the anesthesia. I mean, it's a whole complicated thing.
So anyway, things can go wrong.
Yeah.
That is what I'm really afraid of. And the hospital is full of infection.
Oh yeah, oh God,
People
yes.
die of things that
I
they
know.
didn't go in. this will be the second one. I had one already, arthroscopy in my knee, when the doctor during the operation already said, forget about dance. But I danced on it for 20 years. I invited him to my performance. He didn't come, of course, but he knows that I'm dancing all these years afterwards. It didn't give me much hope then. But, dancers can't be stopped so easily. We're sort of hardy creatures, dancers. I have nothing else to live for, really. And all my life, I have dedicated to the dance. So everything else fell wayside. So I have nothing now to fall back on. And the dance has been really the most important thing in my life. In fact, it is my life. And I dedicate my whole life to the dance, to the art of dance. And to me, it's not an entertainment. I never have been a light entertainer. Never looked upon it as entertainment, but I looked upon it as a celebration of life. And since life is sacred, it is sacred dance. And I have introduced sacred dance to church services also, in 3 continents, in fact. I was the first one in Australia, I was the first one in England in the 70s when nobody did it. And I was the first one here, coast to coast, in many churches which never had it before, and also in my own country where they never, ever could imagine that dance could be used as a church service, and or within the church as part of church service. And I've done there too the same thing, introduced sacred dance in church services, beside my dance performances, of course, on stage and television. It's hard to imagine for me to be without dance. So even if I'm going through this operation now, which will be really quite a trauma, and I am going to try to find a way of getting back to dance. Come in. Oh, I thought you'd quit, or you thought that I'm dead, so you don't have to come anymore.
I see, it's one of those days.
Oh yes. How are you, darling?
I'm fine. Let's see what's up with you.
I've been dancing all night.
Scene 46, take 1.
Set.
Set.
Breathe.
What's up, darling?
I told you, I'm fine.
It's Kirk, is it?
His name is Dirk.
Doesn't work out, does it?
You've never met him. He's a good man.
So was my butcher.
There,
That's the limit.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I cannot dance tonight because I just have gone through a hip operation and I have now one longer leg than the other. This performance celebrates my 61 years on stage. And I am 82 and a half now. And a half. By the way, speaking of the in Latvia, the one that you will be watching, there was, people said, there's a storm inside and there is a storm outside. I think I can be quite pleased with what I achieved in my life, because I tried hard and I tried the best I could, considering the different, disturbing blocks in the way and the circumstances. I can say it could have always been better, of course, but that we always can say that things can be better or could have been better. But I tried sincerely and honestly, I tried the hardest I could at any time. So wherever I am, I am. Tattvam Asi is also used as a mantra, and it means really to remind you that you are of a higher order, that you really are a spiritual being in a human form, and not the other way around. As people think a human being was a spirit, but a spirit in a human form. And therefore, by saying Tattvam Asi, is that thou art, means that spiritual being you really are, not the shell. And I even now still remember a haiku in Japanese, which I'm now trying out on every Japanese I meet, and I want to know if they understand. And I still remember that from my childhood, which goes like, Naniyo kuyo kawahata yanagi misono nagarabo mite kurasu, which means, why do you worry? Look at the willow tree, how it spends its days mirroring itself in the flowing water. I thought it was so beautiful. How can you tell the dancer from the dance? The dance is the dancer. The dancer is the dancer, you see. You can't tell them apart. How can you tell them apart?